Good evening. My name is Latanya Reeves, and I'm the chair of the Community Commission on Police Oversight. Before we begin, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We'll ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. At this time, I'm going to call to order this regular meeting for Wednesday, October 15th, and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner McElhenney.
Present.
Shanfield is absent. Newman is absent. Clement is absent. Palmer?
Present.
Baker?
Present.
Stewart is absent. Zyla?
Present.
Kennedy is absent. Bartz?
Present.
Inderly is absent. Williams-Johnson is absent. Smith?
Present.
Vice Chair Olson?
Present.
And Chair Reeves.
Present.
There are 8 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. Commissioners, the agenda for this evening's meeting is before us. I'm not aware of any proposed amendments to the agenda, so let me ask if there are any amendments for the agenda from the commissioners. All right, seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McElhenney?
Aye.
Palmer?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Zyla?
Aye.
Bartz?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson?
Aye.
And Chair Reeves.
Aye.
There are 8 ayes.
Thank you. The ayes have it, and the agenda is adopted. Next, we have 2 sets of minutes to accept from August. One is from our regular meeting on August 11th, and the other is from our special meeting on August 19th. May I have a motion and second to accept these minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been motion and second. All right, if there's no further discussion, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McElhenney?
Aye.
Palmer?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Zyla?
Aye.
Bartz?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson?
Aye.
And Chair Reeves.
Aye.
There are 8 ayes.
Thank you. The ayes have it, and the minutes have been accepted. Next is the order of public comments. We'll open the floor to any comments from the public, giving each speaker 2 minutes to address the commission. We'll be taking speakers in the order that they're registered. If you wish to address the commission tonight and haven't already done so, you may register with the clerk at the side of the dais. If any speaker has printed materials, please give those to the city clerk. We also invite folks to submit written comments using the forms available from the city clerk to be included in the public record as an alternative to speaking at tonight's comment section. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to address the commission tonight. We have a timer to assist speakers in monitoring their use of time. With that, I'll open the public comment period. Our first speaker tonight is Chuck Turchick.
By ordinance, you have the power to, quote, make recommendations to the city council, mayor, and/or chief of police relating to police department practices, internal controls, collective bargaining agreements, and other related matters, unquote. Now, there's a rumor going around, and it's from a very reliable source, that in the very near future, city officials are going to change the process for how you implement this power to make recommendations. They're going to have you make these recommendations individually in one-on-one private interviews with council members, the mayor, and/or the chief of police. Under this plan, you will not be discussing such recommendations publicly at your meetings, and you will not be making recommendations as a commission. This will empower you tremendously as individual commissioners and will therefore be most useful to the chief and to the city's elected officials. Yes, transparency will be slightly diminished. Well, actually, it will disappear. But the offset will be how each of you will be empowered, your voices will be enhanced, and your service as representatives of the community will be valued that much more. And yes, the commission as a commission will be disempowered, but isn't it really about people, about individuals, not about artificial constructed bodies like the CCPO? With this change, your recommendations will have the same power, the same influence, and the same transparency that you will individually have as participants in the performance review of the Chief of Police. Your access to the decision makers will be the same in both cases. To hell with the pretense of transparency. To hell with the CCPO acting as a body to exert any influence on Minneapolis city officials. God bless the power of the individual. God bless America. God help us.
Thank you. Seeing no one else signed up, we've completed all public comments and will close the public comment period. The next order of business is reports. We'll begin with the report from the Office of Police Conduct Review. Deputy Director Fujisawa was not able to make it tonight, so I will ask Director Kayla McConnell, Corey Harland, Nick Palladian, I'm glad I said that right, and Linda Jean to come up and speak for us. We'll allocate 15 minutes for this report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thanks so much for having me. I'm Kayla McConnell, and I serve as the Interim Director of the Civil Rights Department, and I'm very happy to be here on behalf of OPCR, the Office of Police Conduct Review, and Associate Director Fujisawa, who is unable to be here tonight. I'm going to go through just the beginning of this report and then hand it off to our very talented supervisors over each of the specific units within the Office of Police Conduct Review. Generally, this presentation will cover a background of the Office of Police Conduct Review. I know some of that might be redundant, but just to make sure we all have the same information, and then provide updates from our intake unit, our administrative investigations, and review panels. So for the Office of Police Conduct Review, again, I know that most of you know this, but just to reiterate, we are a neutral agency that investigates allegations of police misconduct that are specifically made by members of the public to the city of Minneapolis. The Office of Police Conduct Review is a division, one of 4, within the Civil Rights Department for the city. The office is mandated to review public complaints involving alleged misconduct by Minneapolis police officers, and we are committed to ensuring that community concerns are taken seriously and that all complaints are investigated fairly. Our goal is to help build a stronger, more accountable system that both residents and law enforcement can trust. This is the general structure of the Office of Police Conduct Review. We have an associate director, which is Associate Director Fujisawa. We have 3 different supervisors over 3 different areas of the work, an intake supervisor, an investigation supervisor, and a policy and research coordinator. We also have a management analyst within the division, as well as a variety of investigators, body-worn camera analysts, and an administrative analyst too, who you all interact with all the time because she provides a lot of the support to the commission. With that, I will hand it off to Corey Harlan to talk about intake, but before I do that, I always want to take the chance to say thank you so much for the service that you provide on the commission. We really appreciate it, and we know that it takes a lot of time and dedication from you all, so thank you on behalf of myself and the department.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Corey Harlan. I'm the supervisor for the intake division. When a complaint comes in, I want to provide some background because I know there's some confusion on the difference between the intake process and the admin process. When a complaint comes in, my part reviews all of those. We look for jurisdiction. We make sure that there is alleged misconduct against an officer. It doesn't necessarily need to be MPD, but if it's a different jurisdiction such as county sheriff or state police, somebody like that, we also take it, process it, and refer it out to the appropriate agency. That all happens in intake. We're also seeing if there's anything that's potential in inquiry, so anything that doesn't have to do with alleged police misconduct. So people who are looking just for general information of a department within the city, where to navigate and get around, where to find different things, they would come to our office. The intake team would be the ones to help them navigate, give them the correct resources, including if they're trying to find a different division within civil rights that they're trying to connect with, we will connect them with them. Once a complaint is taken in, we do the investigative process, the initial part where we're gathering all relevant information that we can get within 30 days. We do the interview process with the complainants to gather more information, see if they have any additional evidence that they can provide us to start with our initial routing of what happens with the case. Again, like I said, we have up to 30 days to process the intake of a complaint. That's 30 days out of the total 180 that our office is tasked with. So when it comes to these numbers, as you can see here, the total complaints in queue currently is 121 cases. This means there's 121 that are being worked on or in queue to be worked on. There are some that are being finalized and wrapped up, so they've been presented and are being routed appropriately to either referral, closed out, or identified as an inquiry that should be addressed in a different way. As we can see here, complaints that are in compliance, so within 30 days or less, there's 43 out of those 121. The other cases are 78. Those would be considered out of compliance, so those are 31 days and older. Again, my team, there's only 4 of us in intake, so we're processing through intake cases as quickly as possible. We average about anywhere from 8 to 15 cases every week that we are processing out, but we are getting that many more in that it's basically balancing itself back out. Year to date, we've had 314 complaints in total with, in total with inquiries. We are, I believe it's now about 500 or 600 inquiries that have not resulted in a complaint. So total contacts year to date, we're looking about 800 to 900 that the intake team has processed. There was some confusion with these last 2 numbers, the average length of complaint in the intake queue and then the average length of intake review. The difference between these numbers is the average length of time a case sits in intake is about 67 days. The average length of time that a case is worked on in intake by an investigator, so once it's assigned to somebody, the amount of time it takes them to work on that case is roughly 21 days. And it's either between 20 to 22 days, but the average is right around 21 days for an investigator to do the work. As I stated earlier, we are tasked with looking at the inquiries and the complaints. This is year's statistics of those. So the green are the complaints, the yellow is the inquiries, and then the total is the bottom line there. So as you can see, we average roughly about 1.5 to 2 times more inquiries than we do complaints each month. We have been noticing that complaints are averaging about 50 to 60 a month now. We don't have a clear understanding of why that is. It could be a variety of different reasons, such as OPCR has made a more presence in the community. We've made more attempts to connect with community members, with former director Michelle Phillips, who was a very prominent person in the community. Everybody was very familiar with her. People being more familiar and comfortable on knowing how to make complaints, all those kind of things could contribute to why we are seeing higher numbers than what we were in previous years. Another thing that I would like to point out is what we refer to as high volume complainants. So these are people who are contacting our office quite frequently in a month. This number says the total is 44, but the actual correct number is 54 between these 6 individuals. These high complainants are people who are coming to our office to file a complaint or engage in some type of inquiry, but are taking a considerable amount of time to interact with our staff. Some of these people are working with our staff up to 2 hours per interaction, which is taking away from the work that's being done on the cases. And this is trying to help them navigate understanding what their concerns are, what they need help with, understanding the outcome of a case, different resources within the city, that kind of thing. But it takes our staff about an hour to 2 hours to help these people, which again is what's contributing to the potential of such a high intake load that's in the queue, that 121 number. And as you can see, complainant number 6 is a repeat for us, and this is on average a pretty low contact for this person. There are times where they account for maybe 3/4 of the total amount that our office deals with inquiries. Oops. This was something I know this body had asked for some context around. So August and September, this shows the date of when an incident occurred per the complaint. So meaning when we received the complaint, the individual says on October 1st, I interacted with an officer in such a manner. This is the information that you had asked for. So as you can see in August, the date of complaint of the incident that happened, about 50% of that happened in August. The other 50% was historical dates. As you can see, I think there's been 1 month where it went back as far as 1980s. So we get complaints as that far back, all the way to current date. And as you can see in September, again, that averages to about 51%. That was historical dates, not current dates. And I can tell you this is consistent with every month that has come in, because part of my job is to review every complaint and every inquiry to gather some of this data and just spot trends and then notify admin and policy and research, our embedded attorney, and everybody else of things that are coming through OPCR just to prepare everybody and prepare for a better response. So I'm aware of kind of the trends that have been going on. So this is consistent that about 50% is happening in the month and 50% is more historical dates that have happened. The reason for that, I don't know. Again, it could be because our office has become more public for a variety of different reasons. It could be officers are engaging in more problematic behavior. We can't discern that because there's so many different variables. But hopefully this information helps you understanding kind of what we're seeing and what's coming through our office. I will also note that some of these more historical complaints do require more time and more investigation because the policies back then were very different. So we have to not only figure out which policy manual was in place, but then compare those policies to the date of the incident, trying to see if there's any relevant evidence still in play, especially when we're talking about in the 80s or 90s, seeing if there's any reports or anything like that. So it takes a little bit longer on the intake side to gather some of that basic information. And then with that, once a routing decision has been made, all the evidence has been gathered, we present it to the director for a routing decision on whether or not it goes to admin, or we can handle it through the intake process. If it's decided to go through admin, we hand it over to the admin team, and I'll let Nick explain that.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for having us. My name is Nick Pouladian, Pouladian. It's an uncommon name, so I will never be offended by folks, different varieties of it, so no worries. I am the Administrative Investigation Supervisor. I'll jump into the stats in a minute, but just to sort of reiterate and recap the difference between intake and admin, and I think Corey did a great job of delineating those two. When a case comes in, it goes through the intake process. They have a maximum of 30 days to do that initial review process and route it whichever direction it needs to go. When and if it gets routed to the admin side, then we are on the clock of that 180 days total includes those 30 days of intake. So the minimum amount of time would be 150 days for admin. So if it's in intake for 30 days, that would leave 150 days for the admin investigation to be completed. So from intake to getting it off to the review panel, it's 180 days total. So looking at the cases we currently have, so cases that are current and compliant, meaning they're within that 180-day time frame, There is 1 currently assigned. There are 39 pending assignment, 1 in supervisory review, 1 in the review panel, and 1 with the chief's review. The focus, as I'm sure folks are well aware, has been on completing the backlog. So that is why we're not caught up at this moment with the concurrent compliant cases. We're working to catch up on that front, working on catching up on the backlog previously. For current non-compliant, out-of-compliant cases, so meaning they're beyond that 180 days, we have 28 assigned. There are 9 pending assignment. 7 are currently in supervisory review. 4 are with the review panel, and 1 is in the chief's review. And then looking at the backlog, that's obviously been the focus and the biggest chunk of things folks have been working through. There are 41 completed, 18 are with the chief's review, 22 are with the review panel, 23 are in supervisory review. There are none pending assignment, and I believe those 3 assigned have been submitted and would be in the supervisory review panel. So that is where the lion's share of the work has been. We're now focusing on getting up to the current and compliant cases as opposed to working through the historical backlog. And I will turn it over to Lalinda. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Lalinda Zhang. I'm the Policy and Research Coordinator for OPCR. So once a case completes its investigation, it gets routed for a panel review that ensures that each case is reviewed fairly and thoroughly. The panel consists of 3 members, 2 civilian members from this body or until the end of the year, the Minneapolis Commission on Civil Rights, and 1 police officer of lieutenant rank or higher. On this slide, you'll see year-to-date data. OPCR oversees the entire review panel process, so we include IA cases in our report out. You'll see that in August, we were only able to review 4 cases due to limited panelist availability. We compare this to 2024, and trends were similar, and so there's perhaps a cyclical trend among availability over the summer then, and so we'll keep that in mind for the following year.
Commissioners, can someone make a motion to extend time for this report, please? The time limit?
Yes. So moved to extend for 5 minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Clerk, please call the roll to extend time for 5 minutes.
Commissioner McElhenney?
Aye.
Palmer? Aye. Baker?
Aye.
Zyla?
Aye.
Bartz?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson?
Aye.
And Chair Reeves.
Aye,
There are 8 ayes.
thank you. Please continue. Yep.
And then when we're looking at September numbers, we see that there were 14 cases that were reviewed, 13 were OPCRs, and 1 was IA. Additionally, 6 cases were rescheduled, 1 due to a clerical error, and the others were because of panelists' scheduling conflicts or personal matters. So our goal is to always have a 100% conversion rate, meaning that all the review panels that are scheduled actually take place. However, life does happen, and so we have an occasional rescheduling. On this slide, we have a comparative chart for 2024 and 2025. 2024 data is in blue, and then the 25 data is in gray. You'll see that year-to-date this year, we've reviewed 3 times as many cases as 2024. And if this trend continues, the CCPO is actually on track to review 4 times as many cases as you guys did last year. I do want to note that what these numbers don't capture, though, are the hundreds of hours that go into review and deliberation by the panelists. So I want to thank you all and the sworn panelists for your continued commitment to police oversight. Your work does not go unnoticed, so thank you. And that's all we have. Stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions from commissioners? Commissioner.
I'm curious what the plan is to get the intake into compliance if we seem to be at a steady state 67 days. how are we going to get that to 30?
Yeah, so one of the plan is, since like I said, there's 4 of us in intake and there's 8 on admin. Part of that process of the admin review is there might be some downtime, and if there is any downtime, we'd want to bring some people over to help us process through, because again, 30 days, a lot quicker, can get things done and moved and processed through. So bringing some people over who have the availability and the threshold to do that. Also keeping track of the trends, and like I said earlier, where I'm kind of sounding the alarm if anything's starting to fall off the rails, to both leadership and my team and the rest of the supervisors here, of trying to create a plan in the immediacy, but it's really keeping track of everything, making sure that cases that are classified as very serious misconduct are being routed first, things that can be easily brought out because it's an inquiry or it's not our jurisdiction. Me and another staff in intake are the ones looking out for those, so we, as soon as we see them, we can process them out and get them out, so we're keeping that as low as we possibly can. So there's different methods that we're trying to do, and especially with the new RMS system that we're building, we're hopeful that that system will also help bolster up our approach in keeping this queue as low as possible.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, I'll just say thank you very much for how you presented this data. This was very helpful that you listened to the commissioners and how they would like to see it, especially the incident dates of complaints received.
Thank you.
That is very, very helpful. And so even though I have to just give shout outs, even the little boxes at the top, you literally made it so easy for anyone who's looking at this document to understand. So I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. I'll direct the clerk to, if there's nothing else, no other questions, we can ask the clerk to receive and file that report. Next up is the monthly report from the Police Department's Internal Affairs Division. I'll invite Ms. Hastings to come up and present. I've allocated 10 minutes for your report, and just note, Madam Clerk, it wasn't going, the clock wasn't going, just so you. Oh, got you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Ms. Hastings.
All right. Good morning, good evening, everyone. So again, just introducing myself, my name is Lily Hastings. I am now the Senior Project Manager for the Internal Affairs Bureau. Yes, we will discuss that a little bit later. Who I brought with me today is our fairly new Internal Affairs Commander, Paul Albers. So I'm just going to pass it over to him to introduce himself.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I appreciate this opportunity to meet with you all and present our report. I'm pretty excited, actually, as new as I am into this position. Everything that we have going on, we certainly have our challenges ahead of us, but the progress that we have made and the things that we have coming up, I'm pretty excited about to tell you about that and let you know about all the great things that we have coming up. So we're kind of rebuilding the team. I'm sure Lily will touch base on that here coming up, but we have some pretty exciting things coming up for you.
All right, so moving forward, tonight we're going to cover some IA staffing updates. We're going to talk about the IA manual, or in other words, the SOP, and what you've probably heard us refer to it as previously. We're going to do some highlights on training, and then we're going to do our normal statistics and trends that we've been doing. So the first thing we have for staffing, that admin support specialist position that we've been talking about at the past few months' meetings, has now been filled. That person is set to start on October 20th. They will have 2 days where they do training with the city, and then we'll get them 2 days after that. So we are very, very, very excited to welcome this person. We have had a very large backlog in tasks related to the administrative support specialist position since this has been left open for 5+ months. So this person is going to come in to some very large shoes to fill, but we're very confident that he will be able to handle that. Additionally, as I mentioned, so myself, I was the IA case manager, meaning a supervisory role over both the admin investigations and the intake for internal affairs. As of September 1st, I was now promoted to the senior project manager. So my role is no longer solely with the internal affairs division. I am now with the bureau, meaning that I work with internal affairs, with the force investigations team, and our candidate investigations team. Some additional updates. I think the last report we had mentioned, we've had quite a bit of transition with our sworn staff members in internal affairs. At this rate, at this current moment, all 5 of our sworn members have transitioned. So we have like half of our office is brand new as of the last couple months, which will contribute to a lot of the trends that you're going to see in the later slides. Of this 5 personnel, 3 of them are members that work on admin investigations. They are not yet all the way through their training to even be able to start with admin investigations. And then 2 of these staff members, IA Commander Paul Albers included, are supervisor members. And again, they're still working through, learning what it means to be in internal affairs, how we process through our cases, what our new processes are with our IA manual. And unfortunately, all 5 of our personnel did not have any prior experience in internal affairs, so we were starting very much from a very blank slate, needed to get everybody ready to go. So again, keep that in mind as you see the later stats and trends. Same thing again, ongoing staffing requests. I know we've been saying it the past couple months. We cannot continue to operate at the staffing level that we have. With having this IA admin support specialist position, we will technically be at full staffing. We do not have any additional FTEs to fill. However, we are understaffed. With the amount of work that is facing our unit, the amount of investigations that we have, the amount of work beyond just the investigations, it is not possible to do with our current staffing amount. We will also note that we have made several requests for additional personnel, including supervisory staff and data staff that have all been declined. And again, we are greatly concerned that this does not seem to have appeared in the 2026 budget proposal. So we want to reiterate again, we will and we have already gone into another backlog while we continue to operate understaffed. I'm going to keep moving along to our IA manual. In terms of some good news, our internal affairs manual has been approved from ALIFA on September 24th. As we've mentioned before, that manual mirrors the OPCR manual, so I noticed they didn't say that tonight. However, their manual was also approved, so we have 2 approved manuals now with similar processes mirrored almost 100%. There are slight changes, such as the information you heard tonight about inquiries. That's a little bit different between IA and OPCR, but most of the manuals are almost exactly the same. Moving on to some training updates. Again, with all of those brand new 5 sworn members, what we do in our unit is we send those members out to a training called FBI LEDA, Internal Affairs Training. What it does is kind of teach them basic, terminology, like what does this mean? What does an administrative investigation mean? What are the rights of the employees? What it doesn't do, though, is teach specifically what our Minneapolis procedures are. So that's kind of where the learning stage is, where all of those personnel are right now. Additionally, all of our IA staff, both sworn and civilian, have now completed day 3 of the new use of force training, meaning that all of our staff are now trained up on that new policy. We also did additional training this month. Again, keep it in mind as we move to our trends later. The IA commander, Mr. Albers over here, and myself completed internal affairs training with Daigle Law Group, or DLG. Myself and one of our civilian investigators also attended the National Internal Affairs Investigator Association Annual Conference, specifically to obtain specialized training in credibility assessments as we work to build that into our upcoming processes with our IA manual. We also attended a training provided by NACOL in partnership with OPCR as well. For our IA manual, the next step after having our manual approved is we will have to train all of our investigators on these new procedures. Just to kind of, again, set some context here, previous manuals could be somewhere between like 10 to 30 pages. This new manual is 200 plus pages. So there is a lot of learning that needs to be done for both of our units to get up to speed on what these new procedures are. Again, with our staffing in both agencies, what we have chosen to do is send out an RFP, or a request for proposal, for an outside vendor to help us develop this training program in accordance with that IA manual. So the RFP has been released, and it's closed for submissions on October 17th. And then internally, our proposals are scheduled to be reviewed on November 5th, 2025. Lastly, in the training section, I just wanted to highlight some upcoming trainings that are kind of this week and next week. So our Internal Affairs Bureau Chief is attending the Major City Chiefs Association Conference and the International Association of Chiefs of Police Conference this week, just left yesterday. And then, again, the Internal Affairs Bureau Chief and 4 of our civilian investigators will also be attending the NAQOL Conference is it next week? Yes, next week. Moving on to our statistics and trends. So open intakes as of end of day on October 14th, we had 11 total cases. The average age of those cases was 29 days. And the average duration to complete the intake phase once assigned to the date that it's completed through supervisor review is 27 days. For our admin investigations, as of end of day, October 14th, we had 42 cases. The average age is 239 days. You will notice that that is an increase, I believe, of about 20 days from the last report in August. Of those 42, 2 of them are considered backlog cases, 23 of them are considered non-compliant cases, and 17 of them are considered current cases. Of those 42, 39 are currently assigned, and 3 are pending assignment. For our expedited disposition cases, we currently have 7 cases in that queue. 0 of those 7 are backlog cases, 2 are non-compliant, and 5 are considered current cases. Lastly, this is where you will notice our backlog is. Again, keep in mind that 2 of our 3 supervisory staff are brand new and trying their best to learn and get up to speed. So that leaves 1 supervisory staff, myself, who has since been promoted to a very different role, trying to maintain and keep up with the supervisor review the best that we can. So again, this includes both admin investigations and expedited dispositions. So as of end of day, October 14th, we have 185 cases in this queue between admins and expediteds. 64 of that 185 are considered backlog, 103 are considered non-compliant, and 18 are considered current cases.
Thank you. Commissioners, we ran out of time for this report. Can we have a motion to extend time to finish this report?
I move to extend time by 5 minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
If we would all allow me to just say aye. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Please continue.
Okay. So just to provide a little bit further context to what supervisory review is and how much work is actually entailing in this step. This is a multi-step process. Although it is one title, it doesn't just mean that one supervisor is looking at this case. It means that the direct supervisor is looking at this case, then the city attorney's office embedded attorney is looking at it, and then lastly, our IA commander is looking at it. We cannot skip a step, so we do need to have all 3 review all of these investigative summaries that are coming through from our completed admin investigations and our completed expedited dispositions. Another thing that we want to highlight here, just to kind of give context to how much work that truly is, between April 1st, 2025 and September 30th, 2025, which aligns with the ALIFA reporting period, the direct supervisor reviewed 76 ISRs and submitted those to the next level. 33 of those 76 were considered backlog cases, 37 were non-compliant cases, and 6 were current cases. Of just those 33 cases, that amounted to 753 pages of report writing that needed to be reviewed. And again, that is 753 pages. That is half of the total amount of just the ISRs reviewed from April to the end of September. And that is just the one stage being reviewed by direct supervisor that then needs to move and go to the CAO to review, and then the IA commander. So hopefully that provides additional context as to actually how lengthy and how time-consuming this step is for us. We do also have our chief's office statistics. So total admin cases currently at Loudermill hearings, we have 5. For cases that are currently at chief's office, we have 24 admin investigation cases. For discipline-related grievances, we have 4 cases, and then discipline-related arbitration cases, we have 3. Again, I can't remember, but I think I had explained at the last August CCPO what chief's office really entails. It doesn't mean that it's just sitting on chief's desk for review. There's a variety of different things that need to happen. There's, notification processes. There's the Loudermill hearing. So when we see delays in here, it is largely contributed to other factors beyond just having the chief review the case file. There's a lot of, factors in here. As I mentioned earlier, that admin support specialist position that has been left unfilled in our department for a very long time has a lot of steps to do in this chief's office review with the notifications and closing out the cases. Again, contributing to some of the timeline delays that we have here. We also have things in there that includes drafting and reviewing the actual corrective action memo as well. Lastly, we just have our normal statistics, intake data set out by incident date. So we have our intake queues. All of them are from 2025 dates. Intake separated out by precincts. We still have our incident date separated out for our admin investigation cases. Thankfully, you will see that there are no more cases in the 2020 pile, and there is only one case in both the 2021 and 2022 pile. So those we are hoping will be finished up by the next time we give a CCPO report as we work our way closer to getting up to 2025. All right, and then we have our admin investigation cases broken out by precinct as well. Moving on to our backlog update. As of last year, September 27th, we started with 112 backlog cases. As of 10/14/2025, we are down to 2 admin investigation cases. So we are very, very much hoping that that will be completed within the coming months. And then lastly, percentage of backlog cleared. Again, just noting that cleared does not mean the same as completed. Cleared means it is all the way completed through grievance and arbitration processes. So of our backlog cases, we are now at 57% being cleared. All right, ready for questions?
Thank you. Any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Baker.
You mentioned that there wasn't budget set aside for expanding your staff next year. Is that made at the department level or at the city level, that kind of allocation?
To my understanding, our department has raised multiple times that we need additional staff. It has been raised up through our chain of command, and our chain of command has raised it up higher through the city. I am not sure where in between that is the broken link.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. I ask the clerk to receive and file that report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the monthly report from the Police Department's Implementation Unit. Implementation Unit is unable to join us tonight. While we won't have a presentation this evening, the report is available for everyone to review. If there are any questions, please send them to Commander Wilkes or Lieutenant Robinson. And I'll direct the clerk to receive and file.
Yes.
I just wanted to highlight for everyone 2 outstanding questions that you guys had are specifically in the IU report. Number 1, you had asked about ride-alongs. How to set up a ride-along is specifically spelled out in that report. And then secondly, MPD trainings. CCPO had requested to attend MPD trainings. You'll see an email from me a couple hours ago telling you exactly how to do that as well.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. All right, so we'll ask the clerk to receive and file that report. The next report is from our Police Policy Research and Recommendations Committee. That report will be given by Commissioner Olson, Vice Chair Olson.
Thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of the chair of our committee, Mara Schonfield, and she did a tremendous job of working with committee members. She's a tremendously organized person and left me a lot of notes, but I will try and work through them as best I can. Let me just summarize the various policies we've reviewed over the past few months, and then some of our plans for the future. So first, in July, the end of July, we did a review of Policy 2-203, the Early Intervention System. We submitted that report and analysis on July 30th, and a copy of that is in the packet. So it's the second letter after the end of the Implementation Unit report. Next, we had a special meeting on August 19th, where we were addressing the discipline matrix. That was a meeting of the full commission, and Commissioner Shanfield played a big role in leading that meeting. We had, if you'll recall, a very robust discussion, and then the PPR members were authorized to draft a report and submit it. We did that, and that report is also in your packet. I won't take the time to go into the details of that recommendation letter and the things that were driving our thoughts on the discipline matrix, but we did have a lot of thoughts, and we did submit them, and if anybody has any questions, we can certainly address them. Next, we met as a committee on September 29th to discuss Policy 3-310, which has to do with work hours limitations for police officers. This was, in the view of most of the committee members, a really informative and helpful meeting because we were joined by a lot of members of the public. There are at least 5 from the Citizens United Against Police Brutality. They had done a lot of legwork on reviewing the policy on hours limitations. They compared a lot of the sort of outlines and rules for police officers to those in other public safety sensitive positions. They had thoughtful comments. They provided us with a red line, and essentially the committee members found ourselves in agreement with the observations from CUAPB. And so we, because of the really short review cycle on this, we didn't have time to either bring that back to the commission for a full decision, or even to get permission from the commission to provide our input as a committee. So Commissioner Baker took up the task of summarizing the thoughts of the committee and created a document that was available to basically serve as a template. And commissioners anybody could use that template and submit it for review to the implementation team. And so we were able to do that, accomplish the review of that policy and implement the citizen views of it. And so thanks to Commissioner Baker on that. Next, We are going to work now on, later in this meeting, on policy 9-401, and Commissioner Bartz will take the lead on that, and that has to do with immigration. We have also discussed how to collaborate better, or how to improve the panel process, let me say that. And so the PPRR members have talked with some members of the Community Engagement Committee to figure out a way that we can improve feedback loops and get more data related to our panel recommendations. And from the PPRR side, we're hoping to get more data from historical data on officer discipline. We've asked the city employees to look into that, and they've agreed to look into that. It's complicated by the Data Practices Act and the privacy issues, but we're working with them to see if we can get more data on historical police discipline. And the Community Engagement Committee is also working to consider how we might have a process of debriefing as panelists to have some sort of feedback loop on our panel deliberations. Finally, in 2026, we're going to be turning towards looking at improvements in practices in the department, in innovative practices, we're calling it. And we would love to have commissioners and the public help us as we evaluate what other cities are doing in innovative areas in policing and police oversight. And we'll just be looking for input in the future on that. Now, Commissioner Shanfield is really good at shout-outs, and so I will just read her shout-outs for this meeting. She expresses our appreciation for the implementation unit for allowing us additional time to review 9-401, the immigration policy. We very much appreciate the community members who have joined our committee meetings. We are appreciative of the work of Ms. Polini and Lieutenant Robinson from the implementation team for their guidance on PPRR, and an extra shout out to Lalinda Shong for her partnership with us. So thank you all.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Commissioner Smith.
I have a question. I think it's more for our city. Thank you, Commissioner.
No.
I have a question on the disciplinary matrix comments. First, I'll offer my own. I was not present for the special meeting, but in reviewing this and in discussing our comments with other commissioners, I think this is a profound critique on the matrix that was put before us. I think it has really serious problems and implications for our disciplinary panel process, and it risks creating an even greater gap between civilian oversight through panels and the ultimate discipline imposed using this matrix. So my question back to Ms. Polini is, what is the status of the disciplinary matrix given this feedback?
Well, like with all the policies, the feedback comes in from all of you, and then IU reads all of it, considers how to implement or in what ways to implement it. They will eventually respond, as they do, to community feedback online, and then they'll get it through ALIFA and MDHR, and it'll eventually be approved and posted.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, great. Thank you very much. I'll ask the clerk to receive and file that report. Next up is the Governance Excellence Work Group. I will ask Commissioner Olson.
McElhaney.
Oh, he's the, oh, yep. Okay, I can see him. Thank you. McElhaney is to speak on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. So the Governance Excellence Unit was brought together to strengthen the internal functions of the CCPO, we are focusing on commissioner readiness, process clarity, and effectiveness of oversight, with the goal of ensuring that the CCPO operates efficiently, transparently, and in alignment with its mission. We reviewed the bylaws, procedural rules, and feedback to identify some internal gaps, and consensus is emerging around a flexible project-based model rather than a permanent standing committee. And this is due to current staff capacity limits, administrative burdens around additional committees, and it will enable commissioners to focus on clearly defined time-bound projects with measurable outcomes. So, identified concerns are that is acknowledging some ongoing challenges, unclear internal processes and decision-making transparency or agenda setting, lack of structured feedback loops between meetings and committees, and we have a recognition that no standing committee does not mean ignoring government's issues. Those still require action. So we're meeting on Friday, and some of the ideas that we still have under consideration are where to strengthen internal documentation to clarify roles and procedures, ways to improve onboarding for new commissioners, exploring potential recommendations or requests for legislative reforms to modernize or streamline how we may comply with open meeting laws and other restrictions, and creating consistent feedback and accountability mechanisms within the commission. Next steps are the group will meet on Friday, October 17th to finalize recommendations on how the CCPO should approach governance and excellence moving forward. And out of that, we should deliver a flexible, transparent, and sustainable recommendation to focus on substance over process.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions from commissioners? All right, I'll ask the clerk to receive and file that report. Thank you very much. Finally, we have a report from the Community Engagement Committee from the Chair, Commissioner Smith.
Madam Chair, the Community Engagement Committee did not have an official meeting at its most recent scheduled time for lack of a quorum. And with the Chair's indulgence, we'll be communicating to all of our committee members seeking a recommitment and assessment of their ability to serve. It's a problem for calling all the city staff and the other members that do show when we don't have a quorum. So we'll follow up on that. We did, I want to thank Commissioners McElhenney and Sila for joining me at the meeting, and Ms. Zhang for indulging us in a discussion. We are doing work as a committee on preparing a communications toolkit so that every commissioner will have at their disposal a PowerPoint presentation and message points and summary information to bring out into community, whether that be to your neighborhood association or other community organization that you think is interested to present. And we'll be inviting commissioners all to embrace that toolkit and put it to good use in coming months. We hope to have that toolkit ready for you by our November meeting. We are also beginning discussions, as Vice Chair Olson mentioned from PPRR, in the Community Engagement Committee, discussing how we can construct a process to reflect on service on the disciplinary panels and bring information about that process out before the full commission and the public in a meaningful way. So we'll continue to do some work on that. There are sensitive data privacy and other issues there. So we'll want to work carefully under the guidance of the City Attorney's Office and others, but we think that's important. And that's our brief report.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions from commissioners? All right, seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to receive and file the report. Next up is the monthly report from the police department. We already did that one. The resolution being brought forward by Commissioner Smith, who I will ask to speak on this item.
Madam Chair, if you go just before the last policy on immigration matters in your meeting packet, you'll see a one-page resolution recommending a practice to the Chief of Police to explain departures from disciplinary panel recommendations. This recites our authority to make recommendations to the Chief of Police, and we understand that the outcome of our review panels constitutes a recommendation to the Chief, and the Chief has the final disciplinary decision to impose whether or not he agrees that there's merit on the allegations of misconduct, and if so, what discipline should be imposed. We think this process would be well-served by having the Chief explain and justify any departure from our review panel recommendations regarding discipline. And we think that would promote greater transparency and accountability and increase trust throughout the community for the police department and this commission. We also think it would align with best practice. So we are, by this resolution, recommending to the Chief that he adopt the following practices. 1, to provide a written explanation and justification for any departure from a review panel recommendation for all police misconduct cases he decides, and 2, provide the Commission a copy of such written explanations for all cases since January 1, 2023, in which there is a final disposition of disciplinary action. You'll recall that is at the very end of the process. Also, we are resolving that for cases in which panel recommendations have been made and there is no discipline in final disposition yet, we are requesting that the Civil Rights Department provide summary data describing the total number of police misconduct cases considered by the Chief since January 1, 2023, the number of cases in which the Chief has departed upward or downward from panel recommendations, the alleged violations for which these departures have occurred, and as much other relevant summary information as can be provided under the Data Practice Act. I want to thank our committee members for working on this resolution, as well as Ms. Zhang and Ms. Polini and the City Attorney's Office providing helpful input.
All right. Thank you. And did you want, just for purposes of clarity, to add the word "as" in the resolution? As can be provided?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion on the resolution? Okay.
Madam Chair, I would move the resolution.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Since seeing no further discussion, Clerk, can you please call the roll on this resolution?
Commissioner McElhenney?
Aye.
Palmer?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Zyla?
Aye.
Bartz?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson?
Aye.
And Chair Reeves?
Aye.
There are 8 ayes.
All right, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Thank you very much. The final item on tonight's agenda is discussing Police Policy 9401, Police Authority in Immigration Matters. I will ask Commissioner Bartz to get us started.
Thank you. I wanted to start by also thanking the implementation unit for the 45-day window for this review. Unfortunately, hopefully they read this transcript, but it's allowing us to have a more robust and thorough discussion within the full commission and taking it back to PPRR for revisions and refinement. So the process will hopefully result in a robust and relevant set of recommendations. I'd like to request that commissioners, if you have notes either on the cities you reviewed or comments on the draft, and you'd like to submit them in writing, feel free to send them to myself and Linda, and we're going to work on the first draft of our recommendations. And again, we have to get the commission permission for the PPRR to submit the final version. So I would like to make a motion to refer the feedback report on the draft MPD Policy 9-401, Police Authority in Immigration Matters, to the Police Policy Research and Recommendations Committee. Is there a second?
Seconded.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
And to be clear, the understanding is that the PPRR will be able to draft a report, submit it to the implementation unit as the full commission's recommendation.
Correct.
Is that right? Yeah, okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McElhenney?
Aye.
Palmer? Aye. Baker?
Aye.
Zyla?
Aye.
Bartz?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Vice Chair Olson?
Aye.
And Chair Reeves.
Yes.
There are 8 ayes.
Thank you. Just let everyone know that document will be attached to the minutes of this meeting, and then we'll give it to Commissioner Shanfield and her work group to compile our feedback into a document. All right. With that, we completed all items on our agenda. I think this is a record, potentially.
I think
Did I forget?
you wanted to have some discussion of the
Oh,
policy here.
oh, okay. That's fine. Go ahead, Commissioner Bartz. We were almost there. Go ahead.
Thank you. Another note I missed is that we are going to aim to actually send around a draft after the next PPR meeting on the 7th to the full commission for any final reviews if members so wish, and to send back individual comments. So obviously you're not voting on the final version, but if you have any final edits, we will receive those. So I'll just say a few things about the policy itself to get the discussion going.
Okay.
So the policy applies the requirements of Minneapolis Separation Ordinance, Chapter 19. It recognizes that community trust and collaboration is essential to public safety and acknowledges that fear of deportation can stifle community cooperation and reporting of crimes. So the policy focuses on ensuring that community public safety, on ensuring public safety regardless of immigration status. The policy delineates jurisdiction. It identifies federal agencies as the exclusive authority on immigration enforcement, and notes that MPD has close to no jurisdiction on federal matters. So it directs members to take no action in determining immigration status, except in limited cases such as status, where immigration status is a element of a crime, as in trafficking and smuggling. And it directs members to separate from and not participate in immigration actions, unless to focus on criminal non-immigration elements of the incident. The one exception is that to that is that it does specify that members should do their jobs to ensure public safety, including when immigration agencies are being attacked or assaulted. It has an element of checks and balances, with members identifying and reporting immigration enforcement imposters and, quote, questionable conduct by immigration officers. It addresses the MPD role in public demonstrations at federal immigration actions, basically directing members to treat them as the normal First Amendment protected events, and to maintain peace, ensure, enforce state and local laws. And it also denotes that MPD has no authority to act on immigration alerts, detainers, or non-criminal warrants. With that, I'd like to have the PPRR members talk about the cities they looked at, and I would like to thank Commissioner Palmer for putting that list together. And since I have the mic, I guess I'll start. I looked at Las Vegas, and in terms of immigration enforcement up to the point of detention, it's quite similar. It's extremely brief, but basically encompasses the same principles that are in our draft, which is to enforce, or not to enforce immigration violations, and to focus on community policing regardless of immigration status. They do share information on people arrested that are related to transnational organized crime and terrorism. The rest of their policy it has to do with their detention phase. So they are collaborating with federal immigration officials fairly extensively in detention, but that's not relevant to our policy because MPD doesn't detain people. So that would be Hennepin County, right? So, yeah, that's about it.
Go ahead.
So I looked at Chicago. I would note almost all of these policies, so Chicago was updated somewhat recently in September, but not substantially from what I could tell. The major principle that's in Chicago's that doesn't show up in ours is that they say they will not threaten deportation. So I didn't see anywhere in ours where a police officer couldn't use the threat of a deportation or handing over to ICE as a way to, get somebody to testify against themselves or something else. So I think some language in that. After we've gone through this, I do have some broader comments about the policy I would like to make.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioner? Commissioner Palmer?
Yeah, I researched New York City. So most of their policy is somewhat similar in that it's focusing this matter as a civil issue, or they want their police officers to focus on criminal issues rather than civil issues, which immigration is. Most of this is outlined in an internal memo sent by the NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch on January 18th of 2025. There haven't been too many updates since then, so most of it is from that memo. And according to that memo, city law prohibits the use of city resources for enforcement of any civil provision of the Immigration and Nationality Act, and members of service are not permitted to engage or assist in civil immigration enforcement. A few quotes from the memo are, the core principles for all members of service is to keep in mind the distinction between criminal enforcement and civil immigration enforcement. The department investigates criminal activity without regard to a person's immigration status, and a person present in the United States without lawful authorization is a civil matter, not a crime. So it just really highlights that they want to focus on criminal matters rather than civil. And thusly says officers cannot contact immigration authorities to share a person's location, detain an individual to be taken into custody by immigration authorities, facilitate street closures to enable immigration enforcement, allow department facilities to be used in connection with immigration enforcement, or ask for a person's immigration status unless it's relevant to the case. Additionally, police officers have been directed not to interfere if people try to obstruct enforcement by civil immigration officers. They can only engage if an individual separately poses a threat to public safety. If immigration officers present papers to take someone within NYPD custody, the department's legal bureau must be notified. No one is allowed to be released from the department's custody without authorization from an executive of the operational command and a legal bureau executive. According to data from the New York City Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, NYPD received 35 detainer requests from ICE between January 1st and September 30th of 2024. NYPD did not honor any of those detainer requests. Data from October 1st to December 31st of 2024 was not available, and I have not found anything about 2025. Although NYPD officers have been directed not to assist in immigration enforcement, they also cannot take any action to stop it either.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioner?
I took a look at Denver, and that was not particularly helpful because they have had a separation law at the state level since 2019, and the Denver Police Department implemented that in 2019, and it's a very simple policy that just prohibits police from assisting in any civil immigration action or providing any names, but it's a very limited policy that hasn't been updated. I find the draft here to be far more robust and helpful, and this is a good improvement on what's been done in the past, even in so-called sanctuary jurisdictions.
Thank you. Commissioner Baker, did you want to add additional comments?
I do. So on September 30th, in response to being sued by the federal government, our mayor, who has ultimate authority over the police department, said we're going to fight with all of our strength for our immigrant neighbors, and we will win. We won't be bullied. We won't cave. Minneapolis will always stand with our neighbors over Trump's politics of fear. This policy does not reflect that standing with our neighbors. Our mayor has said we are a sanctuary city. The tradition of sanctuary is to actually protect and shelter those who ask for sanctuary, not to provide crowd control while they are abducted and disappeared to domestic and foreign prisons without due process, and often in contradiction of judicial orders. Sanctuary would mean that a resident fearing being kidnapped could voluntarily go into police custody and be taken to a location of their choosing rather than handed over to ICE. The federal administration has made it clear that they will lie. They will persecute their political enemies with the Justice Department. They will ignore court orders. I'm almost done. They will ignore court orders and due process and use National Guard troops to invade cities they disagree with. By the definition used by this administration, I am a terrorist. And so their anti-terrorist regime could be used against me because I plan on going to a No Kings rally this weekend. Hell, my children are terrorists by their definition. So them saying that an investigation is a terrorist investigation doesn't mean squat, and I think we need to stop taking them at face value. MPD should not provide space, restroom usage, or entrance to any city building by ICE. MPD should not rely on any information shared by this administration or treat their claims as trustworthy. And MPD should shelter and protect anyone fleeing federal agents who asks for aid. This policy may have been acceptable 12 months ago. It is woefully inadequate for the current environment.
Okay, thank you. Any additional comments on the policy? Commissioner Palmer.
Well, first of all, I just want to echo Commissioner Baker's sentiments. I think they are perfectly succinct for the current situation that we are in facing nationally and locally here in Minneapolis. There were a few comments made about other cities not having as in-depth policies as Minneapolis, and it was in my research studying which cities to look for and which ones to assign to commissioners on the policy committee that apparently Minneapolis has one of the strongest city-level separation ordinances in the country. That is very concerning, given the events of June 3rd at the cross-section of Bloomington and Lake in South Minneapolis. We saw then cooperation of MPD escorting ICE officers out of the area. We saw them not doing anything when protesters were assaulted. I'm not going to go into all the details of it because I think most of us are aware of what happened then. I think most of us are horrified by what happened. If you aren't, that's a problem. But we need something much stronger than what is currently proposed. And there's multiple groups within the city, as well as just nationally, that are trying to propose stronger legislation. Here in Minneapolis, trying to actually make us a sanctuary city rather than pretending to be one. And I think it's important that we consider larger community demands, and although they don't necessarily make themselves present here at these meetings, I think it's worth, as a matter of community engagement, our commission, reaching out to these members of the community and seeing what input they have.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Palmer. Any additional comments?
Yes. Yeah, and the raid on the 3rd that Commissioner Palmer referred to happened 2 blocks from my house. My elderly neighbor was shoved to the ground by federal agents in front of the MPD. And just in light of all of the MPD's actions at literally every protest in the last 5 years in this state, I think that it's pretty clear that this draft on immigration policy is just a pretty slippery worded document. And I would just like to be in full agreement with both of the former commissioners who just spoke.
Okay, thank you. Any additional comments? All right. Commissioner Baker?
I feel like this draft conceptualizes community members trying to protect their neighbors as the harmful element and fails to conceptualize that a militarized ICE doing warrantless attacks on civilians, citizens, and immigrants is the actual threat and danger and causing harm. I feel like this draft has the police boots facing the wrong direction when a federal raid happens again.
Okay, thank you. Any additional comments? Commissioner Palmer?
Yeah, I'd just like to add on to that given what's happened in Chicago recently, in which a South Shore entire apartment complex was raided and everyone detained, including naked children handcuffed together, we need something that's not just going to not cooperate with ICE. We need something that will actively work against a unconstitutional and illegal secret police that is being formed right now in this country. We don't have time to sit around and pretend like the status quo that existed even just a few months ago exists anymore. It is dead. We're in a new era, and we need to actually act like it, and we need to make sure that our police actually focus on protecting the community rather than their own interest and rather than the interest of a increasingly dictatorial federal administration.
Okay, thank you. Any additional comments? Commissioner McElhenney.
Yeah, so one thing that might be covered by other statute, but maybe it has a place in something like this, is these agents, it's assault and battery. It is what they're doing, what they did to your neighbor is, and I'm not a lawyer, so I always mess up the definitions of the two, but it is a real crime. And there's also the reckless use of weapons on the public. And the whole, it's a misnomer to say that it's less than lethal. It's just unlikely to be lethal, but it is still violent. It is still losing your eyesight. Chemical irritants can cause, major issues, and these have post-traumatic stress, result in post-traumatic stress disorders. And it's kind of looking at the weapons and the anonymity that causes increased risk-taking or reckless behavior. It should be part of what is addressed by this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any additional comments? All right, I appreciate this really good discussion. It will go to Commissioner Shanfield, and she'll compile a document. Please make sure that you provide any additional feedback that you may have to PPRR. Thank you. All right, and seeing with that, I believe we've completed all of our agenda items for this meeting. Without any objection, the commission stands adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.